luckily, Peter, he invented something a bunch of years earlier by accident, and it was a coating product. It was plant-based. It was before sustainability was cool, and um, I was like, you kind of got bored of it, but I got him excited about it. I said, hey, you built this plant-based thing. It coats things. It displaces a lot of toxic chemicals. It's not perfect, but is a huge step in the right direction. Why don't we take this, improve it, develop some IP, and get it out? And he got excited again about it. And one of the big coincidences is the entrepreneurial reality game show called Dragon's Den, which essentially was before Shark Tank happened in the US. And it has the same host, Kevin O'Leary, Robert Herjavec. They're holding a national competition to find the best sustainable innovation. And, long story short, out of 4,000 companies, we came in first. So we got $100,000, no strings attached. We got millions of dollars worth of free press. And that's how we launched a company.
You said you got $100,000, no strings attached, but I think, don't they buy a part of your company?
In the regular show, they offer equity and stuff. Mm-hmm. So in our show, there was a sponsor that was doing a co-marketing.
That's incredible.
Yeah, so they had money, and so essentially we didn't partner with all the dragons. They all wanted to do something, but we said no. We went our own way. We raised some money, and we launched the company ourselves.
So what made you stand out? 1 in 4,000 those are steep numbers, and you're actually standing out in front of 4,000 really dedicated entrepreneurs who are doing amazing things. So what's your secret?
Yeah, well, first of all, I mean, Peter is a genius at presentation. So that's one thing that stood out. Another thing that stood out is I think I get the sense you're the same way. I'm an early adopter of things. I like to experiment with things as they can let curiosity drive me. And I'm not afraid to try something when no one else is trying it and be that lonely soul that has their hand up. And, of course, I pick wrong sometimes and, whatever. But I'm willing to accept that because I see the advantages of being early. And so I always tell people, like, if you want to be an expert at something, you could spend 20 years toiling away at it, or you could spend a year and a half on something completely new, running as hard as you can. And, in 2004, that's what I did with LinkedIn. LinkedIn was early. There was initially 12 platforms that were kind of vying for this. And then there were 3 platforms that were really fighting for that space. And I doubled down on 3. And as soon as I knew LinkedIn was going to win, I put everything into it. I was spending so much time into it to a point that I got recognized as an expert. And I got recognized by an expert in which I started to get, speaking gigs. So this is like post my trumpet incident. And I started to speak. And even in all women's groups where they usually find women speakers, they couldn't find women speakers. So they had me come in. So I had this mini virtual monopoly in my, small little area. And every time I do a presentation, whether it was at the Bar Association or the International Marketing Association or whatever it is, I would say, give me all your cards and you can connect to my network and we can stay in touch. And this is before, automated things. No one wants a connection request now, but at that time it was like, wow, give me a connection. I want to be part of your network. Imagine that, right? So I connected with thousands of people. And one of the people I connected with was as an individual named Mitchell Levy. And he has a publishing company now that has, he's published thousands of books now. But at the time, he was on his book 10th or something. And I connected because he was an early adopter too. And we struck up a deal. And, I co-wrote a book with Peter called Overcoming Inventoritis. And, he just happened to be friends with Steve Wozniak. So we got that testimonial, Steve Wozniak's a nice guy. We don't know him very well, but he writes a testimonial like we're best friends, like me and Steve Jobs, we're like inventoritis. I'm like, we nothing we did contributed anything to their success, but it was such a nice testimonial.
You're very
And
humble. You are an incredibly humble person.
and why I'm telling you this is when we, that we had to solve two problems when you're dealing with a TV show. First of all, credibility, right? So credibility, we had a book with Steve Wozniak's signatures. We gave books to the producers. We attended multiple auditions, so they knew who we were, just to establish relationships. And then also we had this one other problem, which was, coatings, right? When you tell the average person, I mean, coatings are like paint. So, that saying, as boring as watching paint dry. Well, watching coatings cure is just as boring. So we had this problem because no matter what, it's a TV show. It has to look good on TV. So we were racking our brain. And it just happens that, at the time, I was reading a book by Martha Stewart, which really laid out her ability to repurpose content. This is before Gary Vee and all that stuff, but she had all these publications. And I think, I'm trying to remember the example. It was something about like blueberry muffin or something. It's like, there's a recipe about blueberry muffin, and then she talks about it at a radio show, and then it gets repurposed to an article, and then she was doing that. And I think it just sparked the thought that maybe we can do the coding demonstration as a cooking demo. So we would add, part A, part B on a Teflon pan and mix it up and watch it cure in front of the judges with all the ingredients and, with the plant-based ingredients and all that, and that would strike a chord. And it worked. Like, it was entertaining enough and it happened instantaneously enough that they're like, wow. And I think that's the thing we have to solve for. I think with products as well, we talk about our book, Inventoritis, is, everyone, has an idea that they think it's cool. Everyone has a product they think is cool. And some of them are actually really, really cool. But, in order to cut through the noise, it has to meet a certain standard.